Welcome in to Hits and Misses. My name is Toomey. I go by FF Strategist on TikTok. And best friend Eric, say what's up to the people, bro.
What's up? What's up? Eric at Eric P Football. Let's go.
Let's go. So we're here. You guys know the bit. We're on TikTok going live. We're on YouTube live as well. Make sure you guys throw in your comments. Obviously, like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. Make sure you guys are doing that. But we're here basically as a download session for all the stuff that just happened today from a fantasy football perspective, but also we just talk about ball as well, like what we think happened with the standings and everything. But really, it is a pretty heavy focus on football. And there's been like a lot of amazing fantasy play today. I know we're kind of like on pins and needles right now, though, because your favorite team is in a fight for their life. You want to say anything about the Panthers right now?
Yes, as we speak, the Panthers have the ball after the Bucks just missed that 55-yard kick with Chase McLaughlin. So if we do right, we might go ahead and kick it ourselves and get this W, as we deserve, of course. But we're gonna see what happens. I'm confident we're gonna knock it out. Should have beat the Chiefs too. Actually, those of you watching the game, we got ripped off when Adam Thielen caught that touchdown, but they didn't call it one. So the game should be over. But I ain't mad.
You're right 100%. Like so Bryce Young probably not the most fantasy relevant guy, but honestly, he put up a decent production today. So he gave us 22.5 points at least so far. I think he's probably going to get more as we go. Like it's still 22. Actually no, 23 points now. This is an interesting prospect to me from a fantasy standpoint. If you're looking just for something, if you got to be pretty desperate. But if you are, he's playing well now. Like he continues to put back-to-back good performances together. He had a rushing touchdown today, which you love to see. I think the bigger, more interesting pickup this week will probably be Adam Thielen if he happens to still be available. But yeah, I think that Bryce Young is an interesting prospect, and I love picking up Thielen on waivers.
For sure. I'm hoping he's finally put it together. This is what we expected when we first opened up the new toy out of the box. As we all know, he was quite trash last year. Started this year, same stink level of trash. But finally, after, the Red Rifle got out there and did his thing with Andy Dalton, I think he got back, tried to work on his weaknesses, lean on his strengths, understand the playbook, and put things together. Like, take your time, figure out what, what works for you, and, feel comfortable out there. Try to maintain having fun and being a pro at the same time. Find the right combination for you, and I'm hoping he's unlocked that lock for himself. I'm glad to see it.
I agree 100%. I think that I'm happy for him. Again, don't go going crazy about fantasy, but definitely an interesting player. Now, real quick, going to be getting questions hot and heavy on TikTok as well. Make sure you guys throw your comments in here. We have a question about Josh Allen in this weather or Bo Nix. Me personally, if I have Josh Allen, I start Josh Allen. Yes. I feel like you don't get too cute about it. Bo Nix is obviously going to have a great game. It's not an easy defense to go against in Cleveland, but I get it with the weather. It is concerning. San Francisco, they're not any slouches. You're not going to have Nick Bosa. And this is a guy who's done well in these weather situations in the past. So I honestly, personally, I'm starting Josh Allen. I'm not looking back.
Yeah, Josh Allen used to that weather out there. He's been out there for a while. You certainly want to go with him and his anticipated comfort level with that kind of situation.
100%. But talking more about this Panthers game that's still going on, give me an update. Anything happened yet?
No, still next score wins 23-23. I think we were able to move the chain.
They're driving though.
Yeah, so they're moving the chain. Hopefully we get in a comfortable position. I actually found out Eddie Pinheiro is the most accurate kicker in NFL history when they were talking about how poorly Tucker's been kicking out there. So I'm like, all right, let's put that use. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and knock it out. Oh, damn. Turnover on downs. Now the damn Bucks got the ball. Okay, I missed out.
Nah, it said, all right, somebody said Chuba fumbled. Oh, damn it.
So
I was about to talk about these dudes. I want to pull up. Where are you at? You probably didn't load up because you don't want to get talked about. Now you're here. So unless he scored today, this was going to be a garbage game for Chuba. A garbage game for him. He got a similar, close to amount of carries than Jonathan Brooks. Obviously, the game's still going on, but he really didn't have that many carries, even when I was like pulling these stats online. This is a little concerning because the Buccaneers, they've been a bad matchup. So traditionally, Vita Vea, they've been a good matchup over history. But this year, they weren't super difficult. This was a situation I expected him to do better, and then you see the fact that he just didn't have any receiving opportunities. That's a little concerning. I don't know if this is something where you need to like start panicking about him, but I think that there's an opportunity for Jonathan Brooks to start to make his way in there because they did draft him for that purpose, and we did see at least this week better production from Brooks than from Chuba Hubbard. Again, game is still going on. This could all be moot by the time we talk, but it is a concern if you have somebody so talented who's starting to look like in their first real action looking better.
Yeah, I am glad to finally see Jonathan Brooks getting some burn out there. As you can see, the 6 carries, 18 yards. He actually does have 3 of 3 receptions for 23 yards. So he does look, I would say, pretty dynamic out there. He gets a little bit more used to being out there on the field. We might have something in Jonathan Brooks. So I'm hoping things are starting to come into formation for us. And this is the Jonathan Brooks that we were hoping we drafted in the second round there in this previous year, given his talent that he had in college coming off the injury and everything. So you hope everything comes together for the Panthers as we deserve it. So let's see.
100%, 100%. But the player I was about to talk about, let me find their thingy. These guys went crazy. These guys. So these guys, man, yo, they like Bucky is that dude, bro. Bucky's just the guy. Bucky's that man. Like, I can't even like. I'm not like. I want to spike the football on this take, but I don't even think I was underselling this. I thought that Bucky Irving would be annoying to Rachaad White. I didn't think he would just like eat this motherfucker's lunch. Like, I didn't think he was going to just take it, like straight take it like that. Like, what happened?
I see this long ass run with Rachaad White of all people on my damn team right now. We gotta stop talking about these motherfuckers. I swear, the worst luck.
We're jinxing this whole shit right now. We're talking about Chuba, he fumbled. We're not talking about Rachaad White. Yo, they got to the 12. Yeah. Damn, that's my bad, bro. If you don't know, diehard Panthers fan, Eric over here. This is doing the show live. You're a trooper. Yeah. This is part of it. Like, that sucks. Oh, man. So Rachaad White, it looks like he had 8.8 points now because so much of that came on that one run. But we gotta go on. So
the show must go on.
Show must go on. Looks like the Bucs are gonna likely win. It's next score wins, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Bucs are gonna get that win. The way if you guys are seeing on TikTok, that's gonna be another X on the Panthers. That was, I really thought the Panthers were gonna pull it out, but overtime, that's all you can do. It's a tough divisional matchup.
I'm going to go back and say we did win because they cheated us with that Adam Thielen touchdown. I ain't going to let it ride.
I feel you. Yep. And I see it's wrapped up. Tampa Bay 26, Carolina 23. But I will say again, like, if on the Carolina side, be confident. You guys played a good game. Things are looking in the right direction. I think there's certain teams where I don't really care too much about the wins this year. The Panthers will be one. I need to see it going in the right direction. You see it going in the right direction now. Even honestly, people with the Bears like are freaking out. Obviously, the end of the game call was terrible. Or the end of the game management was terrible. I've liked what I saw from Caleb over the last few weeks, and so I would be encouraged if I was a Bears fan. Like, he's looking better than Bryce Young did last year at this time. So like I'd be comfortable with that. Now go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying they may have managed that game because Eberflus knew he had to just reach for the moon right there because he probably was aware things go left, I won't be coming back. And I told my mom that while we were out there on the holidays, happy holidays, everybody, that, he probably did that because he think he's going to get fired. Next day, he was fired. So,
Yeah. Somebody keeps saying the Saints didn't win, bro. So, I'm showing my predictions up here. That was wrong. That's why there's a red X by it. So, make sure we all know that. All right. Now, the people who are on the screen, Bucky and Mike Evans. So, their games have locked. Mike Evans, he ended up getting 26 points, basically. So, this is a little lower. He got 8 of 12 for 118 and a touchdown. Bucky Irving, I think his stat line stayed. Yeah, he was 25 carries, 152 yards. He actually got injured at one point in this game. But 33 receptions for 33 yards. And I get it, Rachaad White just did that, and I want to see it myself to kind of see what happened there. But Bucky is the guy. He's taken this backfield. It is his backfield. 25 carries to 11 for Rachaad White. Obviously, without that big run, Rachaad White's day looks significantly worse. This is a guy, like, I had him as a top 12 guy. Like, I think he just stays there. He's a must start no matter what. No matter what running back league, how many running backs you got to start. This is a guy you got to start every week. He is clearly, it's not a three-headed monster. It is his backfield. And Rachaad White is kind of like his backup, even though Rachaad White will give you better production than like a true handcuff. Bucky's the dude.
Yeah, I agree. If you're already out of it because you have too many losses in fantasy football, you still want to pay attention to these guys who might have fallen from the recognition pattern come next year. So you want to make sure that you can probably swoop in and get them in the mid rounds, because this is where you have really good draft capital with this like here. Probably wouldn't be Bucky Irving, but it's people like this whose name isn't as big, like potentially Jonathan Brooks going to next year, that you can slide in there if somebody's leaning on Chuba Hubbard as opposed to Jonathan Brooks. So still pay attention. You can get that money next year. Keep locked in.
100%. I think that's an interesting point. Like next year, Chuba, I mean, depending on how the season ends, there's going to be some people who Chuba helped them win a championship this year, and they may be tied to that. But a second-year healthy Jonathan Brooks, I will be ranking him higher than Chuba Hubbard. And so that's just something like you got to keep in mind. Like there may be a pretty distant gap in their draft like ranking. I think that Jonathan Brooks has way more upside. You may be getting him cheaper, so it's just something to think about. Obviously, at the end of the season, but we got to go win our championships first. Two guys who typically help you do that: Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I think this is clearly the race for Offensive Player of the Year, and honestly, MVP is up for debate too. Yeah. They both look like trash, as you know in the show sheet. I had both of them in the miss aside until the end of the game, so I removed them late. And then Saquon just does what he does, bro. This cat. It was interesting. Like the Ravens are a tough run defense, and they actually played well last week outside of defending J.K. Dobbins. But if I had to pick a running back who's so similar in how like vision, burst, ability to create explosive runs, like Saquon is that, and he's obviously much better. And so to me, I thought that Saquon, he was my number one ranked running back on the week. He probably won't be this week, or he definitely isn't this week. But he, no matter what the matchup is, he can create those explosive plays. So that's why, to me, I was a little less concerned about the tush push, because the tush push is still effective. But because of Saquon and the way that he plays, he scores from distance. And he scores from distance pretty consistently too. It's not like, all right, we know who's getting the ball when it's within the 1 yard line. But that still hasn't mattered to Saquon's production. Like, I know that was a thing that scared a lot of people off of him, but really, like, that has not bared itself out. Like, Saquon's still getting his, even without getting, like, 1 million touchdowns.
I definitely leaned to Saquon on this. Like you said, he had the better stats in this game, but also the Eagles as a team. Brown has been out with hamstring issues. Devontae Smith didn't play this game because of hamstring issues. Dallas Goddard? He was out for like 3 games in a row with hamstring issues. But the consistent player for them has been Saquon. You could say the same thing about Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts leans on Saquon. Jalen Hurts has the tush push. It could be anybody tush getting pushed out there getting damn 1 yard. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and say we're going to lean to a Saquon on this right here. So I think given what he's done, man's hurdling over people backwards. Can't let that go. It's Saquon. Real talk.
100%. No shade to Derrick Henry, and he played well. He played like crazy last week. Anytime Derrick Henry continues to produce, that's like a bonus to me, because he is so old with so many touches. Like, it's just, I got to give Derrick Henry props. I was fading Derrick Henry like crazy this year. One of the worst takes I've had all offseason. And he is shutting me up, because this old man is still toting the rock like crazy. Like, people are like, nah, he's built different. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I guess. He's an exception to the numbers. You read the numbers. The numbers suggest that he wouldn't be doing this. He is the exception. There's an exception to every rule. The name of this one is Derrick Henry.
100%. He's the exception. But yeah, so we got a lot more stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about it on the other side of this break, but take a look at the Smash Up Sports.
Oh, it's the Podfather, and last year's fastest growing fantasy platform is back. It's Smash Up Fantasy. They've got these leagues where you redraft your team every week, and you get smarter as the season progresses. Now, Smash Up also has a patented power-up card. These are actual cards that can boost your individual players or your entire team. So if you think Lamar Jackson's going to run wild all over the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 1, play the Scramble Spikes Smash Up card to turbocharge his rushing points. And that's not all. Smash Up also is introducing the world's first single-player fantasy game. Think Street Fighter meets fantasy football, where you can go toe-to-toe versus an increasingly difficult fantasy football boss and qualify for the postseason tournament of champions. So test your skills against me, the Podfather, and the Player Profiler team today at smashupsports.com and use code PlayerProfiler. The code is Player Profiler to get special perks like extra lineups for these weekly tournaments and so much more. And it's all free at smashupsports.com.
Make sure you guys join Smash Up Sports, man. Make sure you guys hop in there. It's just a really unique, cool way to play fantasy. All right, so we got to get into some of these crazy-ass games. Where are these boys at? This was a bonanza, bro. This was crazy. Like, what was the final? It was a 44-38. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like no one expected this offensive output. Like nobody could have predicted that offensive output. And I mean, we got the Steelers guys on the screen. Russell Wilson went bonkers, bro. 414 yards. Gave you basically 28 points, 3 touchdowns. It had an interception, 3 carries for 1 yard. It was actually a surprise. I thought he was going to rush for more than that because Cincinnati actually ceded a decent amount of like rushing production of quarterbacks. But he didn't need to. Clearly, like, I mean, he went crazy. Najee was a dog, 75 yards and a touchdown, 6 of 6 receiving for 54 yards, which is really interesting as well. Especially another thing against a defense who had barely given up any receiving yards. They, I think, over the last 4 weeks, or probably the last 3 weeks, gave up 7 total receptions to running backs for like 20 yards, like something insane. And Najee goes 6 of 6 for 54. Like that's just. This is a theme of this show. A lot of the predictions were all over the damn place today with some of those stats. George Pickens did enough. I gave you 16 points. You probably wanted more, but I mean, 3 of 6 targets. You really want to see more when Russell Wilson throws 38 passes? I mean, that's really less than a 6 of his like targets went to Pickens.
Yep.
But still, can't complain. The running backs did a decent amount of work. I saw Van Jefferson make a big play. Freiermuth was involved. He really was spreading the ball around. But again, if Russell Wilson's throwing the ball 38 times, you do want to see George Pickens probably hit double digits in targets. So something keep it in the back of the head with Pickens. Just continue to keep it in the back of the head. Like his target volume, you want it to be better. But not panicking, not making any sort of like moves or changes yet because of that. He's still like top 15, top 12 type of receiver. So, but something to keep an eye on. But yeah, overall, Pittsburgh, phenomenal day offensively. I am not expecting this to repeat itself at all on a week-by-week basis. I think they play the Cleveland Browns again next week. I'm not expecting this offensive output on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, given what we've seen so far, you would be really taking a gamble if you thought that this would repeat itself. But you do love to see it. I'm watching the game and how well Russell Wilson was carrying the team and doing everything. I'm like, man, why did it take so long to replace Fields? I'm like, dang, his dude balling like it made no sense. So I think the dude that was announcer even said this was the first 400-yard game that we've had this season. I'm not sure, but even he happened to go ahead and say that. And you just didn't expect it to be Russell Wilson on the Steelers, of all people, to go ahead and put that up. So it was a great change from the norm when you go ahead and see these divisional opponents that play. Like when you see the Steelers, the Bengals, the Ravens, they generally have a strong defensive game and they have very low output, like 9-3, and they came out and won. Those kinds of games is what you expect with them. You don't expect them to be a barn burner like this one was. It was a joy to watch. I'll give it that much.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, the Steelers have been in like 2 shootouts in a row. If you think about it, like 2 barn burners for sure. And on the other side of the ball, even though they lost, really good offensive output from the top guys. You got Jamar Chase going for basically 21 points, T. Higgins going for 18 points, and then you have Chase Brown giving you 19, which is all you can ask for, going up against the Steelers front on the ground, giving you 12 for 70 and a touchdown. Really good production. I'm just happy that Chase Brown is getting true starter snaps, true starter touches. And against Pittsburgh, again, like this is a tough run defense, so you got to be happy with that output. And I guess there's 2 weeks in a row where they've given up a decent amount of production to running back. So kind of something to keep an eye on with the Steelers defense. But don't freak out too much just yet. But again, just always you want to keep these nuggets in the back of your head, especially as we head into like Buy NATO coming up soon.
Yep. I mean, just look at that equal opportunity distribution right there. 9 opportunities, 10 opportunities, and a total of 15 for Brown. The Bengals know how to go ahead and get the ball. Everybody get some sugar over there, and they all know what to do.
Everybody gets some sugar over there. All right. I feel like there's some negatives we got to talk through, and I hate to do it. I'm just gonna pull up a team at random.
They missed. Yes, a lot of missing right here.
A lot of misses for sure. Like a lot of misses. They obviously so we're talking about the Seahawks. Obviously, they won the game. And I picked them to win the game, so I was happy about that. I expected Geno to do a little better, but I guess at the end of the day, he just cares about getting the win against the Jets and the team. I think they cut him they didn't re-sign him when he got drafted there, but he definitely had some extra animating factor to win this game. Yeah. I'll start with DK, then I'll move to Kenneth Walker.
Got it.
DK, I will say 10.6 points is not ideal. That was kind of predictable because DK Metcalf, if you ever see DK Metcalf matched up against an above average, probably closer to a top 10 level, top 12 level cornerback, he does not have good games. It doesn't happen. He never does. DK Metcalf struggles significantly with tough matchups. It's just not his forte. I don't know if it's the fact that he can't get separation from them or something. He's not super fluid, being able to get in and out of breaks. I don't know what it is, but you see a tough corner matchup, you expect DK Metcalf to not do as well. That's why I expected and I ranked JSN higher than him this week. Kenneth Walker, I'm gonna Seahawks fans continue to tell me the offensive line is just so trash. There's nothing he could do. And maybe I should start believing that because 16 carries, I just expect better output. And I know Kenneth Walker, the style of running back he is boom or bust. He is getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage or he's giving you a 30-yarder. The thing we haven't seen this year are those 30-yarders. We haven't seen those big plays. We see a lot of those tackles for losses. And that's it's one of those things where he is putting him in the top 20. This is not a bad matchup, man. The Jets have been better down the stretch recently, but they've been awful on the season defending the run. Their defensive line has been terrible defending the run. And you guys cannot move the ball on them like that. It's just I feel like this game was probably a little wonky. I guess the one thing I will say just to defend them is they got out super they got down quick. They were down 14-0 just like that against the Jets. And so yes, that definitely changes your game script. I just even if it's not that, I just want his production to be higher. I want him to catch more passes. I want him to just be more involved as a key part of this game plan. It just seems like the Seahawks aren't there with that.
Yeah. When you say the motivating factor psychologically with Geno going up against a team that drafted him, on the opposite side of the ball, defense for Seahawks, Leonard Williams was probably in the same boat as well going up against a team that he played.
Yeah.
And he copped that interception and took it all the way back to the house, big man. So that could be something that would have had far more to do with that W. As you can see, the offensive production was lackluster. And when you talk about DK and Kenneth Walker III, I'm a little bit more concerned about who are apparently the guys who are second fiddle to them. Like you said, JSN and Zach Charbonnet. I was seeing them names a little too often in regards to these guys who are supposed to be the number one stunners. So I think that they're starting to, they got 1A, 1B type music going on over there in the Seahawks. It's no longer that this is the primary ball handler. This is the primary pass catcher. I see those other guys were stepping up and making some noise because I kept saying Zach Charbonnet's name. I believe he got the touchdown today. So it's one thing to be concerned about. As you said, we haven't seen what we anticipate seeing with Kenneth Walker. And if you're going up against someone who is relatively decent, especially if they're on the top tier of the list defensively, DK is a definite fade. So
100%. Looking at next week, so they're playing the Cardinals in Arizona next week, the Seahawks. Another matchup, Kenneth Walker should do well in that, but he probably won't. And then DK Metcalf. So there's not an elite corner there in Arizona. But you talk about somebody who just struggles like an MFer against Arizona. This guy just can't. So that'll be an interesting one. I'm definitely going to have JSN higher than him next week again. I think like we're kind of at that point where the offense moves better when they target JSN. We've seen it for multiple weeks in a row now. And so DK is going to take a little bit of a step back in my rankings because of it. I had him outside of my top 24, which felt crazy, but clearly was justified. All right. Let's get to some of these TikTok questions. Let's go Bucks and Colts Nation win. Keep on sleeping on the Chargers. I did that. I picked the Falcons, and Kirk and his 4 interceptions didn't help, but we're going to talk about that soon. Justin Tucker needs to retire. That's probably true. It shocked me that we won down multiple scores. We usually never do it. Y'all have done it a couple weeks in a row now. You're talking about the Seattle Seahawks here. And then a question about the late game, Cook or CMC. This depends on the game. So for me, I'm going James Cook slightly over CMC. It is really close. Both of them are top 10 players to me. I really would have preferred you started somebody like both of these guys and bench somebody else. But I would be starting Cook over CMC. I think the only way the 49ers win is on the back of CMC. But I also know that the Buffalo Bills are going to be keying in on that, especially because Brock Purdy's playing in this wintry, crazy game. And he has a shoulder or throwing shoulder injury. And I don't know. It's hard to trust. I know he's going to play. He's officially active, just if you guys didn't know. But it's hard for me to trust what we're going to see from a passing standpoint there. I just think that the Bills, they could blow out the 49ers. And I think the Bills are the type of team where if they have the opportunity to blow out a good team, they're going to step on their neck because they kind of need those points to keep pushing for a number 1 overall seed if they could get it.
Yeah, Bills are motivated. I don't think they've lost since the bye week, if I remember saying that stat correctly.
100%. All right, let's see who we talking about next. Let's go back to the positive. Let's talk about my old man's favorite team. DMV, stand up. Let's go. All right. This one is interesting. I'm going to talk about these guys. I'm going to talk about the team on the other side of the ball because it was super weird. My worst call of the week was telling people to bench Brian Robinson. I'll probably have to double check to see if that was the worst one, but that's up there. It's definitely up there, top 3 worst calls. But I'm sure someone up here will tell me soon enough which one was worse. But Brian, he's facing this Tennessee Titans defense, and I have been hearing ad nauseum. They've been limiting running backs to 40 yards rushing. Tervonjay Sweat, the rookie from Texas, he's 360 something pounds. He's been dominant. Him and Jeffrey Simmons have just been eating shit up there, crushing it. Brian Robinson Jr. coming off of an injury, how much is he even going to play? Because honestly, there have been games where he's gotten only a few carries and then went out because he practiced all week, he got in the game, and he just couldn't go.
Yep.
And then he's going to go for over 100 yards against the Titans. He's going to go for 16 carries for 103 yards, couple big gains, 1-on-1 for 6 yards receiving. He really could have had a bigger game, but then they put in the backups, and I think the backup running back had 100 yards. Chris Rodriguez, I believe. Let me double check. Make sure I'm not lying. Hold on. I want to give you fake news. Nope, sorry. He didn't have 100 yards. He had 94. Chris Rodriguez had 13 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Jeremy McNichols, which was the big pickup, 6 carries for 32 yards. Not a bad average, but they ran. I mean, what is that? I mean, this easily over. Yeah, this at least 203 yards rushing. Not including Jaden Daniels giving you 34 yards on the ground. Damn, I missed my prop. I thought he was going to give me 40. But yeah, they dominated this team front to back, end to end. It was not close. It was not competitive. It was a tough game for me to call. I did pick the Commanders, but I was like, man, the Titans could win this game. That thought was so incorrect. They dominated them from go. It was not close, period. Obviously, Jaden Daniels went crazy. Terry McLaurin caught 2 touchdowns, which is great to see for a player who does not catch touchdowns traditionally, and this year he's really doing it. Mm-hmm. I know I'm rambling, but the thing that I love the most about Terry McLaurin was the 8 targets. We need to stay there, Cliff. Cliff, if you're listening, Cliff, we need to stay at minimum 8. Minimum 8. He needs to be at 8 targets per game at least. And they were giving, real talk. He was getting short passes. He was getting screens behind the line of scrimmage. He was doing they were using him like a true number 1 today. Where hey, get the ball in his hands. Just figure F it. Just get the ball in his hands. And this is what happens when you do that. He's a great player. Use him. I will feel more confident if you just stop pissing around, Cliff. Use the man like he should be used. That was a long Commanders, right? I didn't even talk about Jaden Daniels playing great, but yeah, they were all awesome.
Yeah, they were all eating from the same can of whoop ass. That's exactly what they put out doing these dudes. Let all these boys cook. That's precisely what they did. The game started, I think Tennessee fumbled like 4 times in a row to start the game. These guys got up, I believe, like 4 tutties in the first quarter. Right then and there, all the fantasy points you wanted from Jaden Daniels, you was just getting straight bonus for the rest of the game. Then when you saw Terry McLaurin go off and get one, everybody's like, yeah, Terry McLaurin got his one. Then he got his second one. Oh, my goodness. If you have the stack on your team and you still took an L this week, you must have done something this week that was really unfavorable for that kind of negative energy to come your way, because they were balling out there today. As you mentioned, they put in the backups. In a pro game, they put backup players out there. They mercied an NFL team.
They mercy rolled them. It was the final score 42-19. One thing that I thought that was super interesting, and I'm glad I took a Jaden Daniels anytime touchdown prop. Mm-hmm. Prior to this week, 3 quarterbacks in a row had at least 7.8 PPR points just from rushing against the Titans, because the Titans' run defense has been so good. Like Herbert, Sam Darnold, Drake May, at least 7.8 fantasy points just from their rushing production. And so to me, I felt like that means top 5 JD day. Like that guarantees that. And so again, we have now 4 weeks in a row where we have, and I think it's like 3 of the 4 have been touchdowns. And all 4 have been over 7.8 yards just from like the rushing production. Here we have, 9.4 points from rushing production. It's like, that's a cool trend to keep on. Now, next week, they play the Jaguars. And so, I mean, we haven't really talked about that super ugly Trevor Lawrence hit. But if it was T-Law, I would definitely be taking his rushing touchdown prop. But I'm not going to take that on Mac Jones. Unless you want to.
No, I'm good.
Oh, boy.
Got
a quick question here. Sorry. Good evening, gents. Lost Hill at tight end, which, that's an injury, guys. That hurts real bad if we lose Taysom Hill, because he was really balling out. Who should I pick up? Goddard, Disley, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Pratt, Freiermuth, Juwan Johnson. My eye initially goes to Dallas Goedert. If we continue to see any injury with Devontae Smith, he's just involved in that situation. Now, when Devontae Smith is on the field, much more variable situation there, but he actually has been giving you okay production even when the receivers are healthy. And so to me, I would side towards Goddard just because you get the upside and you don't get like a terrible floor. Hunter Henry would probably be next for me, but it's kind of close with the other guys. It would be Goddard, Henry, then Disley in my opinion.
I like Hunter Henry and Disley. The least favorite will probably be Noah Fant. You saw Pat Freiermuth have a good game today. As we said, don't expect that. That is not usual production from Freiermuth. The Muth ain't been loose too much this year. Don't do that.
I feel you, bro.
Juwan Johnson, you hear that name a lot. You don't see it respectively be warranted. So don't go that route either. I do believe in Disley, Hunter Henry, and if there's any injury in the Philadelphia receiver core, then Goddard. Just like that.
100%. All right. So I did jump away from this game. We're going to come right back to it because we got some misses here. So on one side, I was telling people avoid Brian Robinson Jr. The matchup is terrible. Do not do that. On the other side of the ball, I was like, no, but Tony Pollard must start player. Honestly, him giving you 8.7 points, I'm honestly happy based on the way that game started. Like he looked like he was on the road to like a negative pointer. He lost a fumble quick. Again, his yards per carry are not bad. It's over 4 point yards per carry. 4 of 6 receiving because they were just down from jump.
Exactly.
And so again, he gave you 8.7 points. It probably, hopefully, didn't murder you, but it really sucks because this matchup was such a juicy matchup on the ground, facing the Commanders, and he just did not deliver. And then Calvin Ridley does what Calvin Ridley does all the time. It's just he underperforms. Getting outperformed by Nick Westbrook-Akine, my Nigerian
Yo,
brother. Like my man just
unbelievable. Death tactic
crazy.
and Nikhil Westbrook-Akine getting a damn touchdown. What in the world? He had 2 this game, I believe.
Yeah, 2. Yeah. What did he have? He had 18 catches. No, sorry. That was a stat, that random stat they said. So he had 3 of 8 receiving, which is he had more targets than Ridley, 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now they were getting blown out, so I am not checking like the snaps and like who was like starters, how long they were out there, etc. And we're gonna talk about him at waivers. Well, I can just talk about him now, so we don't have to talk about him later. You got to add Nick Westbrook-Akine. You have to just add him. You don't play around with it. Just add him. And I would just start him until further notice. Until he gives me a dud. He has to give me 1, and I will bench him. But he has not. He, in 7 of 8 weeks, he scored a touchdown. And today he scored 2. Great matchup again. But also, I mean, the Titans, like, who do they play next week? They play the Jaguars. I'm going to just throw him in my lineup. He'll probably be a top 36 receiver until further notice.
Yeah, I mean, if we read the numbers, I can't go against those numbers. The man did it 7 weeks, like you said, in a row. That's 7 weeks. Those of you who lost within a touchdown, if you'd have had him, he'd have spotted you. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of chatter in the TikTok about the Bucks game. A lot of people saying Bucks won. But then you got some Panthers people said Panthers got sold. So I know you vibe with those people. Yeah.
Bucks cheated.
Yeah, Bucks cheated?
Because the man scored a touchdown. That was an Adam Thielen touchdown. That was a knee down, and that was a catch. What are we talking about?
He got a knee and an elbow down, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Congrats
know, man.
To y'all greasing the right palms.
Why am I acting like I'm a coach or something? I'm gonna get fined. Like, who cares? Yeah, no problem. Oh my god, that hurt. I could tell. Could tell.
Damn, Bucks.
I just want to get negative first. Where's my guy? He don't hide Kirk. Where are you at?
Kirk
is this him?
Throwing some pits.
That's Cooper Kupp. Yeah, he may be practicing some interceptions. Where you at? You're pretty bright. There you go. All right.
Pitts got his cardio in. You know, you glad to see somebody keep healthy.
Did he though? He only got 2 targets. Like, what is he doing, man?
What he been doing for like a month and some change.
Like, we'll talk about Kirk Cousins. You could see his stats there. He threw 4 picks, so that's fun. Kyle Pitts, I was making the case for him this season because, and it was one of those things where I was having like a little bit of a debate in my head. Like, with Kyle Pitts, it's either going to be Kirk Cousins' trends with his tight end will continue, which are great. We saw that with TJ. It's amazing. Or the trends of this Rams offense will continue, which is awful, which we've seen with Higbee. Incredibly inconsistent, just not a part, like a main core cog in this passing offense. And clearly the Zach Robinson side, the former Rams side, won. Like, he is not an integral part of this offensive scheme. You're throwing 39 times, you get 2 targets, man. Like, you're either not doing the job to get open for your quarterback. I'm not sure if any of these interceptions went his way, but again, he only got 2 targets, so there was only 2 of 39 opportunities for him to get a chance. Like, he's droppable. He's definitely not startable. Like, you just can't, like, he's not a usable fantasy asset. And hopefully people have already made that decision long before now. And if you have Kyle Pitts, I pray you need to have already had a tight end. We're in week 13 going on 14. I'm dropping him for like,
you're a very patient person.
Yeah, I don't even know if that makes you patient or just like a bad fantasy player, because like that's terrible. I'm just gonna look right now and tell you who I would be dropping. Dalton Schultz, 1,000,000% I'm picking him up if he's available. Shit, Austin Hooper. I know Hunter Henry came back in the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has to go through some protocol. Zach Ertz is not available, but I definitely will be picking him up. Theo Johnson was interesting on New York the other day. He gave you 10 points. Let's see. Those would be the big guys.
Great.
Yeah. Schoonmaker is interesting to me too. I'd be interested in him over him. What's his name? Oh, what's his face anyway, too. Those would be the big ones. If anyone wants to drop Cole Kmet, obviously you got to pick him up. But yeah, all those guys over Kyle Pitts. Like, Kyle Pitts is a drop.
Yeah, terrible game from Kirk. As far as opportunities, I think Drake London got 16 targets, so he's
Mm.
definitely getting opportunities in this offense. So he might not have had the best game in the world, but he's getting the volume.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it, so Drake London had 16 targets. Ray McLeod had 6. Darnell Mooney should definitely be on this list. He was a complete bust. I thought he was going to do way better than that.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is a wide receiver and clearly a running back centric passing game because Bijan got 6 targets as well. We could highlight Bijan, get out of the negative doldrums real quick. Let me find this kid. Great game. He's truly he's really forming into like the RB1 right now. He is performed amazingly on a consistent basis. They probably just need to continue to give him the ball more. He is the most consistent, solid part of this offense. Yeah, they need to start moving way more through him than they do through Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the evidence week to week to week. 25.5 points on 26 carries, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. He caught all 6 of his targets for 33 yards, and he's very dynamic. You put this guy in space, it's a sight to behold. So leverage that.
100%. Like, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get Kirk Cousins benched, but they're on the precipice though because of their record now.
Mhm.
Like they had to win this game, and I actually picked them to win this game because 1, desperation, but 2, historically, and it's not 100%. But when you have teams coming off of substantial rest, like the Falcons coming off of a bye week, versus a team who's actually had a short week because the Chargers just played on Monday, you typically see that team who had like all the rest, like 60% of the time, I think they beat the spread. And like it's just I don't know, like you guys had to beat up on this team. Another thing that I saw was against the Ravens have the best like rushing efficiency offense based on like player football focus ratings in the NFL. But like by point 1, like PFF score, the Falcons were like right behind them. So truly, like Chargers are great against the run, but last week we saw them get torn the hell up by the Ravens, and they're facing literally like I mean you could say they're essentially tied for first in rushing efficiency on the Falcons. And you see, Bijan still had a great game.
Yep.
Little under 5 yards a carry. Like I don't know. That's why I just thought the Falcons were going to win. Like I mean, just kind of didn't play out that way. But I can't predict 4 interceptions. That's the part. I feel like I predicted the Bijan side of things. I felt like they were going to do okay. I thought both offenses would pass better, but those 4 interceptions, you just can't do nothing about that.
Yeah, I mean that was ugly for Kirk. Just ugly.
Oh, yeah. Man. Couple start sets real quick. I see on TikTok, Debo or Shakir. Now that we have Purdy, and I wasn't sure about this, I had Shakir higher than Purdy before. Now that we have Purdy, I am interested more in Debo. I probably would personally start Debo over Shakir. But I will say, if you're in a situation where you need safety, you need a safe 10. Shakir is giving you a safe 10. He's giving you 11.8 PPR points in 5 straight games. He's only had like 1 or 2 games like below 10 PPR points. He is the definition of safe. Even in this type of weather, he's the type of guy who's going to get short area targets and be able to like make something happen because he's really good after the catch. But if you need upside, you have to go with Debo for the upside. Like Debo, they can give him end arounds. They can give him like screenplay, tunnel screens where he could take the ball to the house where Brock Purdy doesn't have to chuck it all the way down the field with his banged up shoulder. So yeah, if you need upside, it's Debo. If you need like safety, it's Shakir. He's much safer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Debo, I see him as the utility man for the 49ers. And if they're going to lean on CMC, they probably want to spell him sometimes by getting Debo involved. And I see him being the second player to be having the most voluminous activity going on the offensive side of the ball.
100%. All right, so we're going to start getting at it soon. We're going to just talk quickly on waivers, and then we're going to talk through the game picks. So on waivers, and I didn't include him in here, but definitely Adam Thielen, if he's available. He is one of my priority ads this week. He essentially had 2 touchdowns. At least one of them counted. And so I would definitely be considering him. Like he's going to be the main weapon in this offense. I was hoping that was going to be the case now, and especially since Coker just continues to be out with injury, who was playing in the slot previously. This is a good spot for Adam Thielen. Parker Washington came to play. Like, I'd be a little bit more shaky on him just because I don't know the status of Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
We talked about Nick Westbrook-Akine. You just add him and you start him until further notice. What do you say?
Oh, I froze there a little bit. I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, okay. And then Sincere McCormick. So this was a guy who, if you were on the FF Strategist or if you were on some of the lives before, I would have told you, pick him up, just put him on your bench. They were talking him up this whole week. And so before Thanksgiving, before the Black Friday game, I was like, pick him up, put him on your bench. I put him on my bench in like that 16-team league we have. I just put him on my bench there. And he had the best performance out of all these guys. I want to pull up his numbers real quick because they were decent. I mean, they weren't amazing, but considering the competition is pretty good. He led the team in carries. He had 12 carries for 64 yards, 2 receptions on 2 targets. Same amount of receptions and targets as Amir Abdullah. Much better yards per carry against a really tough run defense in Kansas City. But I will say he's not some amazing player. But if you're desperate for a running back, especially heading into this bye week, which we're going to touch on before we talk about the game picks, you got to pick him up. He would be the number one priority for me. Like, running backs who are starting are always going to be that. But there's upside with this guy. Like, next week, who they play the Buccaneers. While it was sucky what we saw from Chuba today, and they've been a little better down the stretch, it's still not a great match. It's still not like a tough matchup anymore. And so I do think that the Raiders, especially if they're committed to it, what do they have to lose? They're going to like push to like try to run the ball as much as they can. And this is still an easier matchup than the Chiefs where he just put up 64 yards. So if they're going to lean on him, this is a guy who could probably give you 70 plus yards and maybe score. So I definitely think that Sincere McCormick would be my number one priority this week.
Solid.
Yeah. All right, so bye weeks. This is the last crazy-ass bye week before we start to get into the playoffs, guys. Next week is tough. It's a tough one, man. Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots, and then Washington Commanders. You talk about the quarterbacks. You got Lamar Jackson out. Just the star players, rather. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Bo Nix, who's been balling, Cortland Sutton, who's been going crazy. You got Joe Mixon, Nico Collins out. You got JT and Anthony Richardson out. Josh Downs too. You have Drake May, who's been solid, and Stevenson, who's been solid out. And then on the Commanders, we just talked about these guys. They had their own like slide for us. You got Brian Robinson out. You have obviously Austin Eckler's not going to play. You got Jaden Daniels out, and you got Terry McLaurin out. You guys need to make sure. Hopefully, you've been making moves prior to this to prepare for Week 14. But Week 14 is going to be tough, and so make sure like we're kind of at that point when you think about your waiver wire where if you're like really, really good, if you have like I don't even know, I've lost more than 2 games in like every league I have, but if you have like some crazy ass record, like I would hold on to my money a little bit unless you're playing for like seeding or something like that. But if you're barely on the edge of the playoffs, you got to go get these guys. You got to go get players who are going to give you points. Like if Nick Westbrook-Akine is out there and you just are just down a receiver and you just need something, go get him. You got to go put him on your priority list. You got to put Sincere McCormick on your priority list. You got to put Adam Thielen on your priority list. Like if you're on the edge of the playoffs, guys, make the moves, spend the fab that you need to. If you are solidly in the playoffs, I would actually say if you don't need these players, hold on to your fab because it is so much more important to have your fab come playoff time than it is right now. Unless there's, God forbid, some injury, like some massive injury in like the Bills game or the Broncos-Cleveland game coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, spoken like a guy who got some chips. That is correct.
Yep. I do have some chips. All right.
For real.
All right, and lastly, with the game picks, I didn't put the record up here, but only 4 losses, including the Bucs one. That was a loss. But a pretty good slate, all things considered. Like Thanksgiving through Black Friday, undefeated. That's solid. Like my Thursday record is crazy, Pank. Like my Thursday record is crazy good. I've only lost 2 games overall, and I think so. I was 10-2 heading into this week. So technically now I'm 13-2 because there were 3 games played on Thursday. Like that, it's a solid record.
Sure.
The Pittsburgh game, I lost that one. Chargers game, lost that one. Rams game, lost that one as well. Then the Bucks game, I was so confident in the Panthers pick too. Like I knew the Panthers were gonna do it, and they almost did, and they probably should have. Any thoughts?
Well, I agree with the ones you have here for tonight as well as tomorrow for sure. Like you said, this is very spot on, and the Panthers did win, as we talked about. They were just so that is what happened there. So that is just how the cookie crumbles.
But I may just leave that blank. I may not correct it.
Yeah, I mean, congrats. I gotta watch what I say. I'm good.
Talking to a Panthers fan. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Really quick on tonight's game. It's already kicked off. I do think that the Bills win. I think they win comfortably. Because Purdy's going to play, 49ers are going to play a really decent game, I actually think. I do worry about his ability to throw. I'm watching him throw like a 70-yard bomb or something when I'm talking. But I worry about his ability to throw down the field since he's dealing with a throwing shoulder injury. And I expect CMC to have a pretty good game today. But I do expect Josh Allen, I expect that defense, and I expect James Cook to have a better day. And that's why I'm picking the Buffalo Bills in that winter wonderland up there. And then for tomorrow's game, I think it's going to actually be a relatively close game. Denver's allowed a decent amount of passing production to quarterbacks. The one thing that we always talk about with Denver, though, is that pass rush and that pressure. Jameis Winston has done a good job not putting the ball in harm's way since being the starter. I do think we may see a little bit of old Jameis tomorrow. Now, they're going to throw for a ton of yards. The Broncos allow a ton of passing yards, but I think that they may get at least one interception or something, maybe even a sack fumble since they get so much pressure on the quarterback. And so I do worry about, honestly, I worry about, literally all the weapons in this game, but definitely the Cleveland Brown side of things. Jerry Jeudy, I'm starting him if I have him. A lot of people are concerned about the Pat Surtain matchup, which is valid. The one thing I will say, obviously, it's a little bit of a revenge game. But with Jerry Jeudy, it was weird, and I don't know if this will continue. But when Cedric Tillman went out of the game last week, Jerry Jeudy played 60% of his snaps in the slot after that, which is odd. And Elijah Moore was on the outside. And so maybe that doesn't continue. But if it does, that'll be really good for Jeudy because Pat Surtain doesn't really follow receivers into the slot like that. So I actually still like Jerry Jeudy. I still love Cortland Sutton. I got to have him top 10 until further notice. Bo Nix, same thing, top 10 until further notice, even if it's not his electrifying games that we've seen in fantasy over the last few weeks. Chubb, I'm a little lower on just because it's a tough run defensive situation. And then I'm not starting Jameis if I don't have to. And Njoku, I'm starting him confidently. I think those are the big guys. The running backs I'm just not interested in starting any of these running backs if I have a better option. And you hopefully should on a week where there's no bias.
Yeah, didn't the guy who's a linebacker for 49 say he's playing on a broken ankle?
Fred Warner, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
So I
it
think
is
that's
insane
a big
because he's
issue.
been garbage this year.
Yeah, out there in a terrible condition like this on a broken ankle, it doesn't spell well. So I'm definitely leaning on the Bills for sure.
100%. One interesting thing, and I don't know if this is just for prop standpoint, the Denver Broncos give up a hilarious amount of receiving production to running backs. But Nick Chubb just doesn't do that. So I would if there's some low James, what's his name? I don't even know his name. Jerome Ford. Yeah. If there's some super low Jerome Ford receiving props, I think those are interesting tomorrow because the Broncos are giving up crazy production of running backs in the air.
Interesting.
All right. Went a little long today, but I think it was worth it. Great show, Eric. Appreciate you guys all hopping in here. Appreciate you guys on TikTok checking out the show. I think the game's already kicked off for sure, so make sure you guys go check that out. And we'll check you guys out next week if I could find the exit screen. There we go. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.